Hello, Wolfpack. Welcome back. Did you enjoy our adaptational list? Well, we certainly hope you did, because we're doing a special two-parter video for you this evening. We're doing the top 10 worst animated adaptations of video games. Animated cartoons that were based upon very good video games, that are turned into movies, cartoons, or whatever, that are supposed to meant to entertain fans of their series.
However, we haven't seen the entire series of some of these, but we know the gist of them.
Yeah, just remember that this is only our silly opinion, so don't take it too seriously if you like what's on here, and we don't. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only.
If you have anything to say, use the comment section below.
Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe and join us for future videos. But right now, let's start this special top 10 list with our number 10.
Number 10. Final Fantasy Unlimited. I've actually sat through about 8 episodes of this, and the reason why it's low on this list is because it's not one of the worst specials, as why it's number 10, but it has no connection to Final Fantasy whatsoever. None of the plots, none of the characters, not even the worlds are connected. Okay, so your main characters are 2 children named I and You. I guess their parents really loved playing the pronoun game. However, they also look like younger versions of Tatsumi and Mine. It's kind of weird like that, seeing that this came before. Anyways, they're going to go into Wonderland to look for their parents while traveling through the Tower of Darkness.
Alice in Wonderland?
Sadly, no. However, the real question is, how is the Tower of Darkness connected to the magical place of Wonderland? They're like complete opposites. It makes no sense. They also come across other strange creatures, such as the chocobo, the yellow bird that everybody knows and loves. And then they can communicate with it because it dropped a feather. Yeah, apparently you can do that with chocobos. Just put a feather in your ear and you can understand them. They also come across a woman named Lisa with a power known as the Keegan Art, which can either boost her strength or use the magic of spirits around her. Kind of cool like that. However, she only uses it like a couple of times. They also come across a mysterious stranger armed with the Maw gun, who they call Kaze. Now, this is one of the good parts about it, Kaze, because he is just a complete badass throughout the entire series, and I feel bad for him since he has to save them constantly. Every single battle, he has to kill the enemy, because the Keegan Arts suck, and the other 2 are children, and then you have a chocobo. Good team. The main villain, who at first I actually thought was a female based off of how they sounded, but apparently they actually say he/him, and it's like a king. And his main goal is to keep harmony in Wonderland. But then he also wants to gain control of Omega, a dragon thing that destroys everything. It's kind of opposite like that. And like I said, it has no ties to any of the Final Fantasy games. They even say in the credits it's an original story, but still, they try to tie Final Fantasy into it so much. You have the weapons that are just outlandish. You have magic. They even have a level up system. I don't understand how that makes sense, but Final Fantasy. However, the main problem with some of these characters is that he's kind of just adventurous, if you will. He wants to see Wonderland for everything, while also caring for his chocobo. Lisa is compassionate and is forcing herself to look after the children because they obviously can't look after themselves. The chocobo is completely random, but is still better than Jar Jar. Kaze is mysterious. He barely sticks with them. He always leaves after every battle, never sticks with them. And You is the main problem I have. She is just so complaining. Every time she's just complaining about how Wonderland is this or that. It's too hard. It sucks. I wish I wasn't here. You're looking for your parents, okay? Everything else is small. I don't care if you have no powers. You later get the Poshu Pocket, which is a weird purse thing that's alive, which for some reason she tapes its mouth, even though she can get anything she wants from it. So you could get a gun or a time travel device from it. And yet she barely uses this throughout the entire series. We later come across a girl named Lou Lupus. Get it? Because Lupus is dog, because she's also like a werewolf in a way. And more parts about this is every time Kaze uses his signature maw gun, he has to say this.
It has moved. Soil is my power. The maw gun has thawed.
Yeah, it's every single time. I hate it so much. It gets so annoying after a while, especially when you watch like 7 episodes of it. And as a standalone series, this could actually work. But because they tie it to Final Fantasy, or try to, even though there's no connection whatsoever, it's on this list, sadly.
Number 9. Mass Effect, Paragon Lost. Okay, the first mistake of this train wreck, first of all, is that the movie focuses on James Vega from Mass Effect 3. James Vega, the Jar Jar Binks of the Mass Effect series. He's the most hated character in the entire game, mostly because he's so bland, unentertaining, and sometimes such a jerk that you want to hate him. One thing I didn't like, though, is that none of the original voice cast is back. It's just James's voice actor, of course. He comes back for the movie, but no, Liara makes a cameo throughout half of the film, and she doesn't even have her original voice actress. What the heck? Liara has a cameo and they couldn't even spring for her voice actress for a 1-minute appearance? One thing that fans hate about this is some of the animation is kind of sloppy. Like, for example, most of the aliens, the Krogan and the Turians especially, look so weird and their movements are so unnatural, even for aliens. Oh, but the humans all have the same kind of character model, the same gray armor, and of course, the same driving goal, while most of them don't even get interesting lines of dialogue. And James is still just as unentertaining in this movie as he was in the game. Oh, and worst of all, the plot is made entirely pointless in the end because James is fighting the Collectors and he has high-profile data on them that could be used to defeat them. However, if you played Mass Effect 2, you know that Commander Shepard already destroys the Collector base without any of his help, showing that James's men died for nothing and he suffered for nothing, and this story was pretty much for nothing, other than trying to make us like James even more, which no one, of course, does. And also, what made me upset was that they planned a future Mass Effect series of films about Shepard's allies just like James. However, they made the mistake of choosing James first. There were so many more deserving characters, like Garrus or Rex or my favorites, Legion or Liara. They could have used more character development, but nope, they wanted us to like James more, so they gave him his first anime film. The animation does have some good artwork put into it, but some of it just feels a bit unnatural, and the acting doesn't have as much effort in it as the Mass Effect series is well known for. Mass Effect Paragon Lost is not the worst, but it's definitely a bad film that deserved to be put on this list, mostly because it ruined a chance for Mass Effect films in the future. But there are worse projects ahead. Number 8. Captain N, the Gamemaster. Wolf and I both saw clips of this one, and we gotta tell you, it's really bad. Although it's not a real mainstream video game, it takes all of Nintendo's classic characters, including Mega Man before Capcom became well known for owning him, and it just ruined them. They all became adaptational wimps in this cartoon. A special mention, of course, goes to Simon Belmont, who went from the most badass epic vampire slayer of all time into an ambiguously gay washout who's so obsessed with himself and how he looks. Mega Man has a weird voice, and he's not as action-packed as he is in the famous Capcom games. And of course, Kid Icarus, before he became known as Pit, likes to speak with Icus at the end of all of his sentences, which is weird. Oh, and also, the Game Boy is now a main character too. You know, because they didn't want to ruin so many other Nintendo characters, they decided to ruin a Nintendo product.
The interesting thing is, we never actually see some of their worlds. They just exist in Videoland, which has all these other minor worlds, but they're not connected to any of the video games whatsoever. Anyways, the main villain in this is Mother Brain, who has a weird-sounding voice.
Actually, it's voiced by the same guy who voiced that creature from the Little Shop of Horrors. I guess he's always voicing weird, ambiguously gay villains that are monsters. But otherwise, this cartoon was terrible. It ruined so many characters of the Nintendo series. It was just a complete sellout. Even the animation looks lazy, because they failed to insert backgrounds in some of them, which you can very see, including 7 times within the same episode. One thing, if you want a full review of this, we recommend the Nostalgia Critic, who is famous for reviewing this kind of show. And his video was very good and more insightful than our exposition. But otherwise, Captain N the Game Master is one of the worst cartoons that involved a lot of Nintendo's greatest video game characters. Number 7, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. This is one of Disney's few video game adaptations, and boy do I tell you, is it kind of weird. The animation is that weird CGI kind of animation that most cartoons were starting to adopt, and therefore it was a cheaper excuse to make poor animation, and it was so bland. For starters, a lot of the ghosts are changed very much, including Pinky, who has a crush on Pac-Man, and some of the voice cast sounds vaguely familiar, like they got that cast from My Little Pony to do the show. Oh wait, they did! Half the cast is from My Little Pony, including the voice actors for Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, and Rarity, which is kind of weird because when I think Pac-Man, I think My Little Pony. And another thing is that the show deals more so with teen problems. Gee, a Disney show that deals with teen problems in an obscure setting. Haven't seen that before. But if you're looking for the main story, basically, Pac-Man's parents have gone missing. They were recently allied with this general called Lord Betrayus, and apparently he, as his title implies, betrayed him. Gee, with a title like Betrayus, you'd assume that he wouldn't betray you, but apparently he did. But Lord Betrayus was banished to the Netherworld. No, not the Nether Realm, sadly, but the Nether World, where he made an alliance with the ghosts, and now they're invading the Pac world to get revenge, and of course, take over the world.
Of course!
However, of course, besides the weird characterizations, one thing I didn't like is the punny names. Like, the characters are named after either shapes or Pac-Man kind of quotes, like the Pacinator and Circumference, which is very weird and kind of uncreative. One thing I don't like, of course, is that there's so much good that could have come out of this cartoon. Pac-Man is, for lack of a better word, a flat character. I mean, does his character really scream cinema? Did he really need a cartoon adaptation about his adventures? Since Pac-Man is looking for his parents and dealing with ghosts, I thought this might have worked better if they made it like a Silent Hill with Pac-Man. Imagine that. That would have been a cool, more serious cartoon. But nope, it's kind of the dumb, downgraded for your young kids kind of stupid. But other than that, I must admit that it is kind of creative that they want to give Pac-Man a war arc against the ghosts. But they do it so sloppily and so Disney-ish, and it's so cutesy and innocent that I can't stand it. But considering Pac-Man is more of a family-friendly game, I could understand why they thought Disney would do good with it. But if you're looking for a good show about a well-famous character, Pac-Man is probably not for you. I mean, it's so bad it makes Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls look superior in comparison, so I'm guessing that's why the show has existed. Number 6. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic, after the success of his first game, finally got his first cartoon back in the 90s. But keep in mind, this was a point where animation was still bad, but this just takes the cake with very poor animation. Sonic and his partner Tails are trying to stop Dr. Ivo. Not that Dr. Ivo. Dr. Ivo Robotnik, and his sidekicks, a robot chicken and a driller. If only. Also, there's some kind of weird funky monkey from Texas who's after him, but he's not very much of an important villain. Sonic is, of course, going on an adventure, and he finds some kind of city where Dr. Robotnik lives, because Dr. Robotnik plans to kill the Blue Hedgehog, and, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
But this cartoon lacked a lot of plot. For starters, there was no character arcs, and their voice acting was very annoying. For starters, the voice actor for Sonic is the guy who played Urkel from Family Ties. Because when I think Sonic, I think Urkel.
I see you.
But other than that, the show didn't have a plot, of course, and it mostly dealt with Sonic running away from Dr. Eggman's traps, or sorry, Dr. Robotnik, as he was still called back then. He's outsmarting the evil doctor and his robot chicken and driller and the monkey as they fail to catch the speedy hedgehog. This sounds almost like a Looney Tune cartoon, and it kind of was, but it was so stupid, and unfortunately they talk in this cartoon, and their voices are very bad. The voice acting was so lazy.
I'm over there.
One thing I do respect is that they had a segment called Sonic Says, where they tried to teach children lessons at the end to show you that their cartoon was smart and could give your kids something insightful for the future. But half of these segments didn't make any sense.
We're surrounded, Sonic. Come in with us. No way, Tails. This is nothing. 911 is for real emergencies. Believe it or not, every year some ignorant kid takes a ride in a clothes dryer just like this one. If you think it's smart to climb in a dryer, you're really all wet. Even you can learn something from a sloth.
And another thing is, Sonic has a love for chili dogs. Apparently, in every episode, he eats them a lot, and they always have to bring it up in the cartoon. My best guess is that it gives him a supersonic speed, because I know when I eat a chili dog, I have to run to the bathroom as fast as possible. But, yeah, this was a bad cartoon, and Sonic definitely deserves a lot more. I mean, considering, look at this animation and bad storytelling. Our kids deserve a lot of good animation. I mean, Dora the Explorer had a good animation compared to this, and Sonic was just cheated out of a good cartoon, or what could have been a good cartoon for this one. Fortunately, his cartoons do get better in the future, but this is one of the worst, and definitely deserving to be mentioned on this list.
I see you.
Creepy.
Guess you guys won't be staying for a second show.
That's it for this part. We hope you join us for part 2 and continue joining us for more future videos. We hope you're ready to see what worse animation lays ahead. Goodbye.